For more on the Rohingya refugees, I'm joined now by Remi Piet. He's in Bogota, research associate at the Florida International University, focusing on political economies and foreign policy. Remi, thank you so much for joining us. I want to ask you first what you make of Myanmar's announcement at the UN General Assembly, this commitment. Do you believe it?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of words that are being, spoken during the UNGA, and that's often the case. I mean, you have right now a situation which is critical with the Rohingyas. It's a situation that is a regional threat in terms of security and stability for a series of different countries. The pressure that was put in place by different speeches, whether we're talking about the Prime Minister Mahathir from Malaysia or Sheikh Hasina from Bangladesh over Myanmar, has been pushed a little notch, and therefore that has led to some reaction from Myanmar. But the problem is not only to just provide some positive feedback. It's really to implement some clear changes on the ground. Rakhine right now is really a place where you're seeing forced displacement of population. The word genocide is not too strong of a word when we're actually seeing some of the situation right now for the Rohingya communities. And so just a speech at the United Nations of good intentions will not help solve this crisis of now close to 1 million refugees in Bangladesh, a series of a couple of 100,000 in other neighboring countries, a population that is just trying to go back to their initial homeland, and unfortunately are facing no clear decisive actions and not only words from the Myanmar authorities today.
And yet we heard there on Saturday in New York, Kya Tint Sway from the Myanmar's Minister for the Office of the State Counselor said that they're working for long-term and practical solutions to bring home, to repatriate hundreds of thousands of Rohingya there in Bangladesh. Why has Myanmar restricted or hesitated, if you will, reabsorbing the Rohingya for so long?
Well, the thing is when you look at Rakhine right now, you have a situation of civil conflict between the Buddhist communities and the Rohingya. So even when you're talking about trying to repatriate some of those refugees from Bangladesh, which has been a very strong host countries in that crisis, but is trying to just find a solution in the long run. Even when you try to talk of replacement into original Rakhine, you have to make sure that the conditions for a safe return are in place, and that's not the case today. A month ago, there was already an attempt at bringing back some of the refugees into their home cities and villages, but they actually fled back again because you can sense that they were not in a situation of security. That in terms of more than just speeches, you also have to look at the situation of citizenship. Right now, the Rohingyas are not considered as being full citizens in Myanmar. They still are considered to be not a Myanmar issue by some key members of the authorities in the capital, and therefore even until you have clear regulations and a clear roadmap into reintegrating those populations on the situation of safe and equal rights in their original region, then you will continue having refugees that will fled back to Bangladesh and to host nations where they're at least secure today.
We often talk here in the West of absorbing a few thousand refugees here and there. We're talking about Bangladesh, a very poor country, trying to absorb some 750,000 Rohingya. What are the conditions there like in Bangladesh to support them, and what support does Bangladesh need from the international community, do you think?
Well, you do have terrible situations in the refugees camp at the frontier between Myanmar and Bangladesh. 700,000 refugees there within the communities of more than 1 million Rohingyas already in Bangladesh. Some of them are not refugees because they've been there for quite some time already. The key issue is the one that you're underlining, is that there's no clear pressure from the international community to try to get a settlement or a joint solution at the regional level between Myanmar, Bangladesh, Malaysia on this issue. And obviously when you're seeing key positions from the Trump administration decreasing to historical low numbers of the refugees inside the US, or debates at the frontier with Mexico, or even in the European Union on decisions of how to deal with migrant issues, obviously this doesn't serve as an example for countries that are much less, let's say, offering favorable situation in terms of economy. Bangladesh is definitely not a wealthy and industrialized country, and it's paying a huge toll in terms of trying to provide some secure situation for the Rohingyas. And when they're trying to lend their hands to gain some support from industrialized nations that should set an example. The Trump administration is going to the other directions of not being the example to follow and showing a complete lack of support for some kind of pressure at the regional level for progress from Myanmar.
Remi Piet from Florida International University. We'll have to leave it there. Thank you for joining us.